This is Google Meet, and so I'm going to use this. This is my actual classroom Google Meet, and I'm going to use it to show you the different tools and help you understand how to use it better. And then after you watch this video, you'll see questions that you need to answer that will be graded as a way for you to demonstrate to me that you understand all of the tools within Google Meet. So when you become a teacher and you have your own classroom, you will have a join code that is on your classroom all the time. And that's how you will join every day with your students if you are virtual. So this whole assignment is for virtual teaching. And you never know, with the pandemic, some teachers were teaching virtually some days and they were in the classroom some days. So it's really important for you to understand how to use these tools just in case you need to be virtual with your students. So you can see this is me. These other two are my other devices, just so you can see what it would look like to have other students on with you. So you have their little faces. And I'm sure even you have been using some virtual tools like Zoom or Microsoft Teams through Newberry during the pandemic, but I'm not sure if you've used Google Meet before, and so that's why we're looking at it. So, a couple of things, super easy tools that are just common sense. You've got down here, which is your microphone for muting and unmuting yourself. This is for turning your camera on and off. And as you can see, when I turn my camera off, it becomes my Bitmoji because that is the picture that I added. You can add your own picture, whatever you want to do. Closed captioning is pretty nice. This is really great for my elementary students who struggle because they can at least maybe see the words. It's also really good for me when I'm struggling to understand what some of my students are saying. This is the raise hand button. So this is really nice because when you have a group of 25 students, you can't always see their little faces and their hands raised. So you can use the raise hand button. So when they click the raise hand button, and I'll show you on one of my other computers, that's what it looks like. And then when you call on them, they can put the raise hand button down and it goes down. And you notice for me as the teacher, it pops up right here and tells me, and I can see that they've raised their hand right here. This can become really annoying when a bunch of them are raising their hands constantly, but it is helpful because, like I said, you can't always see their faces. And you can see here it says open queue. Let me go ahead and put that down. You can open the queue. So let me raise it again. You can see right here, and it will put. I'll use it over here. There, and so I've added both of those, and you can see right here that both of them. It's showing me they have their hands raised. Now you'll notice right here when I come over and it says lower. So there are times that you're done. You're done with the questioning, and you might tell your students, go ahead and put your hand down, but they don't. And you can see that it covers up. And especially when you have a lot of students and there's a lot of faces, it can get in the way and you can lower their hands. So that's a nice feature. We'll get into all the different host controls in a minute. So that's your raise hand feature. This one is presenting your screen. So this is really important for you, but also important for your students because sometimes they might be struggling with something or they want to show you something on their screen. And so you can teach them how to present. So you go to present now. I usually do a window. When I'm with my students, I tell them to share their entire screen. But I typically share just a window, but you can also share a tab. I typically don't like to share a tab because then if I have something else on another tab, I have to close it out, reshare. So I like to do window. That way I can have several tabs open at a time. So let me show you. So I'm presenting my screen. This always comes up. This is new this year. I don't know why it's doing that, but I just say ignore, and then it does the mirroring effect, which is fine. But then I'll get a new tab and show you. So I'm going to show you the math planning calendar. And so now I'm presenting my screen with you, right? And instead of sharing one tab, I can go back and forth. And so now it's mirroring again because I'm showing you my Meet screen. So that's sharing your screen. And it's, like I said, it's really great when the kids can do it, because then you can see what they're showing on their screen and you can walk them through any issues that they might have. So that's presenting your screen. Then three dots. If you remember anything Google with three dots means it's a menu and there's more options. So I'm going to click on the three dots. A couple of these you may not ever use. So I'll start at the top. This one is really awesome. Whiteboard. This is new. It opens up a Jamboard. And Jamboard is a really cool tool that is like a whiteboard. So I'm going to open the Jamboard, and let me share my screen so you can see what I've got going on. So this is the Jamboard, right? And when I opened the Jamboard, it sent a notification to the students. So down here, they had a little blue dot, and when they clicked on it, it said a Jamboard has been shared with you, and so they can open it as well. So I'll show you that. I'm going to get on my other computer and show you as a student that I can write on this Jamboard. Okay, so as a student, I just did that, right? Then you can see my mouse. This is me. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to get a blue marker, and I'll show you. So see, we are collaborating on this Jamboard together. So that's pretty cool. A fairly new feature with Google Meets, but that's really nice because there are times that you want students to collaborate on something. And so this is sticky notes, which is a nice feature if you haven't used Jamboard yet. You can get a sticky note, you can change the color of the sticky note, you can type your response. This is my response. Then you say save. And the only thing about sticky notes is now you have to say cancel and you have a sticky note, right? And you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, you can drag it around. Three dots is a menu. You can edit it, you can duplicate it, you can delete it, right? And so a lot of the time I'll ask my students to type a response, and then we'll all be in here with our sticky notes all over the place. So that's a really cool feature about Jamboard. I'm going to do another presentation on Jamboard because I use my Jamboard a lot, and I should have incorporated that into some work that you are doing, because Jamboard's a really cool tool. It has limits, but it's a cool tool. So anyway, this is something that you can do within Google Meet. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to stop presenting now. And you'll notice over here, I could start a new Jamboard, which is what I did. Or if I have one already created, I can choose it from my drive. And then we can still all collaborate on that together. So that was, let me close that because I was down here at the three dots, right? So that was the whiteboard. Then you can also record your meeting, which we're required to do. And so you can hit record, and then it just basically says, hey, you're getting ready to record this. Make sure everybody's okay with that, and click start. The nice thing is the recording, when you're finished, when you stop recording, it automatically saves in your drive. So that's really nice. That's a nice feature. You can change your layout. This is important for your students because sometimes they will get stuck on one person, or like if you're presenting, they might be pinned to your face and not your presentation. So it's important for you to help them understand what these are. Auto goes back and forth from the presentation, whoever's talking, to the tiles where everybody's faces are. Tiled is just everybody's faces. Spotlight will be the specific one that you're clicked on. And then sidebar just puts the people on the side, right? I usually tell them to do auto, because that way, if I'm talking or I'm presenting, it automatically makes me or my presentation the main focus. So that's changing layout, full screen, which is obvious. Visual effects, it really just makes it brighter, helps you if you don't have a good environment. Captions, we already talked about. Um, let's see, settings. So this is something that's important. You go into your settings. I don't ever really mess with my audio or my video settings, but my host controls. So you are the host, and here you can turn off the ability for them to share their screens. Now you might think, why would I want to do that? Because kids love to play around with the Google Meet while you're teaching. So if you turn this off, they can't accidentally share their screens. All right. Same with chatting. There may be times you want everyone to chat, but there may be times you don't want them to have access to chat. And so you can keep that turned off. These are two new features that we just got. So turning on their microphone, turning on their video. All right. So what's important about these two is that sometimes students don't mute when you want them to mute, right? And so this will allow you to mute them, and then they can't unmute unless you unmute them. So let's say you have a student who just constantly will not stay muted. You might want to mute that student. Now, you don't want to use this for all of them because you want that interaction. You want students to be able to unmute when you call on them. So this can be helpful. So use it sparingly. Same with the video. You might have a student who might not have an appropriate environment, or you've asked them several times to stop doing whatever it is they're doing and they're a distraction. You can turn their camera off. And then quick access. So this one, when it's turned off, the host must join first. That's you. Only people invited by the host can join without asking. People can't join anonymously, and only hosts can dial out of a meeting. So you want to make sure that that you have this turned on, because then it makes it easier. And especially in a school environment, they have so many securities. You don't really have issues with people joining in anonymously, but that just depends on your environment. So that's your settings. Then you come over here. This is the joining info. You probably don't need that because your students can join directly from Google Classroom. This one, the little people, this shows you everyone that's in the meeting. All right. And then this is a lifesaver, all muted. So you can mute everyone. You can add people. So let's say you're doing something and you want your parents to come in and watch, or other people to come in and watch. If you click add people, you can add them by their email address. You can type their name or their email address here. And so that will allow them to come into your Google Meet. Host controls is the same thing we just looked at. It's just up here as well. Then when so this is me, I'm the host, right? Then these are my two students. So I go to my three dots. I can pin them to my screen, right? So it made that student the main focus. I can unpin. Remove from meeting. This is important, but you have to be careful. If you remove a student from the meeting, they can't join that meeting again the rest of the day. They are done. All right. So you only use that in extreme cases. I have had this happen before where I've had to remove a student. And it was frustrating because the parent emailed me and said they can't join anymore, but it was extreme circumstances where the child needed to be removed. And then you can have a co-host, which you probably won't, but you can have a co-host. And so this is how you can remove that person as your co-host. So those are some of your tools there for the students. Then I'm going to close that. So these are down here. This is my menu down here. This one is the chat box. Love the chat box, but again, you have to be really careful. So right here, let everyone send messages. They can see the messages no matter what. But if you want them to be able to type a message, you turn that on. And then they can type messages. So I will come over here. And now that I can send a message, this is what a message looks like from a student. All right. And so that's what I just typed that from a student computer. All right. And so you can see what that looks like. Again, it's great. It's a great tool, but sometimes you don't want them to have access because they'll chat during class when you don't want them to. So you can turn that off. They can see anything that you post, but they can't type themselves. This has lots of fun activities that you can do. I love breakout rooms. All right. So when you go to breakout rooms, you say right here, you want to set up the breakout rooms. You can choose how many rooms you want to do, right? So it gives you lots of rooms. And then you can set a timer if you want to. So in the breakout rooms after a set amount of time, I typically just do it manually, but that's a nice feature to have. You can shuffle the students in the rooms. Sometimes I want them in specific groups. Sometimes I don't care. So I'll just say, open the rooms. And I don't know why. I guess because it's me. It's not actually. What it will do is all your students will show up here, and then it will randomly put them in these breakout rooms, right? So that's really nice. So you can say also, let me go back. Sorry. You can say edit the rooms, and all your friends will be here. And you can just drag see how it says type a name or drag it here. So I just drag them into the groups that I want them in. I say save, and then they get a little pop-up like up here at the top of my screen where it says breakout rooms are in session. On their screen it says click here to go to breakout room whatever, and so they'll click on that to go to that room. I love breakout rooms because it's a great opportunity for small groups in a virtual environment, and you can just join each room by clicking join. And so what I'll do is I'll just turn my camera off, turn my microphone off, and I will join their room and I'll just listen in. And I'll go from room to room and I'll join each room. And then you can leave to come back to the main room whenever you're done observing all of your students. And then when you're ready for them to leave, you just say close the rooms. And then it gives them a notification. So you can see here it says breakout rooms are ending in. And so it will tell them the same thing. And then they will have a button here to click on, which will allow them to leave and go back to the main call. And so that's when they will come back. I love breakout rooms. Polls are another fun activity that you can do. You can start a poll. You can ask a question here. You can give options, add more options. You save it and launch it, and then it shows up on their screen, and they can choose an answer. And then it gives you like a graph, and it shows you how many people chose which option. And so that can be fun, a quick little formative assessment within your Google Meet time. Question and answer. This is also a fun little feature. You can allow them to type questions, or you can turn that off. It looks just like this for them. Ask a question, they'll click on that, they'll type their question, the question pops up, and you can just have a list of the questions here, right? Which is really a nice feature. Let's say you want your students to ask questions during class but not raise their hand. So they can put the questions here, and then you can go to it and answer those whenever you're ready. Recording we already looked at, and whiteboarding we already looked at. So those are some really great features about Google Meet. I really enjoy Google Meet. It's a great environment for the students and for you, and it has lots of really cool tools. And just like every other Google tool, they're constantly making changes and upgrading. And like I told you, when you come into this Q&A was fairly new. The polls was fairly new. The whiteboarding was new. And also in the settings, all mute. That's That's new this year. We didn't have that last year. And then in the settings, um, in the host controls, this was new. All of this right here, the turning on their microphones and their video, that's new just in the last month. So they're constantly adding and making changes to make it better. They listen. They listen to teachers when teachers ask for certain features. They listen and they add those features. And then when you're done with your meet, you just click here to say leave the call. Um, and it pops up and says just leave the call or end the call. You always want to end the call. And you also want to make sure that everyone else has left the meet, because if you end the call and students are still in the meet, sometimes they can stay in the meet and then they can be in the meet together. But if you end the call after everyone has left, then they're done. They can't get in the meet without you. Okay. So these are some really awesome features for using Google Meet. Again, like I said, there's going to be a list of questions for you to answer, like a quiz, and that will be graded. Since there's really no way for me to assess your knowledge of using a Google Meet any other way. There's no way for me to have you create a Google Meet and show me your knowledge. So we're going to do a quiz for this one. If you have questions, let me know. That's what I'm here for.